for Facebook Live here. I'm just going to talk rather generally until it looks like, there we go, that I pop up here so I can see myself, and that way I know it's all going through. Oh, and I can hear myself too, and that's awful. So let's turn that off. And now I can see the comments as well, which is great. I see people already tagging some people in. Always good to get the information out there so far. But full disclosure right now, there's really not a lot of active severe weather. Of course, that was not the case earlier today, which we'll talk about. But before we get there, I want to talk about what's expected for the rest of the day and into the next couple of days, really. But for today, we're off to a stormy start to the week. As you can already tell, if you're just waking up with us, it's been kind of a rough ride, especially in the central Pine Belt right around Hattiesburg area, where a very early tornado warning popped up right around 4:30 to 5 o'clock. As it was moving into Perry County, it was finally dropped off, but regardless of whether the tornado was real or just apparent based on radar, we know that there is quite a bit of damage and some very, very strong winds out there. Of course, survey teams from the National Weather Service will go out and they'll determine whether it was rotating wind or straight line, and that's really just statistical stuff because and when it comes to safety, it really does not matter. Straight line winds or tornadoes can cause all kinds of problems and hurt people, which is what we do not want to happen, and why spending a lot of time this morning trying to let everyone know where it was and what was going on. So we had an early round of severe storms already, and there are still thunderstorms in the area, though short of one that just popped up on the extreme eastern end of the Pine Belt and our viewing area in particular. They've been rather quiet since then. They are still raining, there's still lightning, there's still thunder and gusting winds from time to time, but severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings have not really been an issue since then. We will get a break, which we're not quite in yet, but as we head towards lunchtime and into the hours after that, I expect that we won't see so many showers and thunderstorms, though there will likely be at least a few trying to linger around the area. I expect we'll get a relatively just cloudy and damp quiet time, but we do have another round. More storms possible tonight, especially as we head past sunset and into the evening hours. Don't expect that they'll last long into Tuesday morning, if they do at all, but after that, things get much better. So full disclosure, tomorrow and Wednesday will be very sunny and nice. So we certainly earned it there. As far as the first alert day goes, Patrick ultimately makes that call. I haven't heard from him just yet. Since that initial threat was over, we probably could have done one pretty early, and we generally do if there's a level 3 risk in the area, but that was added pretty early after I was asleep, and I'm sure he was asleep as well. So as far as whether or not it is a day or not, I would say it doesn't matter. Still go ahead and remain weather aware, though. Again, we're in kind of that quiet period right now, but especially for the southern half of the area around sunset, we may end up declaring that once we talk it through. We always try to kind of have those discussions here as a team sometimes. So we'll move on towards that. And I keep hitting this computer like it's the one that's going to move my slides forward. It's not. It's the Facebook computer. So as we take a look here at the severe threat breakdown today, interestingly enough, last night, if you watched our coverage with Nick on the Sunday show, he was talking about a level 1 risk for the area, which we still see, and a level 2 risk, which is also there. But late last night or very early this morning, however you want to think of it, we did add that, or we didn't, the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center did, add a level 3 risk for about our southern third, or you could really say southern half. Now, interestingly enough, those storms kind of popped up right around that line this morning. I believe that's more for the evening hours as we see some storms popping up on the northern Gulf and kind of drifting our direction. Biggest threat remains wind and hail upwards of golf ball size, especially later on in the day, though again, the next few hours I expect will be quiet, with the tornado threat, as we already learned today, is low but not zero. And anytime you get one of these strong lines, it kind of starts to hitch up on itself. There's a lot of internal forces on these storms when these lines form, and you can kind of force some rotation to happen where otherwise there's really not enough wind shear or any of the ingredients that we expect for a tornado. Once one of these lines gets going, you can really see it kind of overachieve, and that's exactly what happened this morning. We knew there would be some thunderstorms in the morning hours. They were not expected to be that strong, and that's exactly why we were here. I kind of noticed it was edging in that direction and made sure that we would be ready to cut in if a warning was issued, and unfortunately one was, and it was right through the middle of probably the biggest population center that can watch our channel or follows our social media profiles. So, and that was, again, Hattiesburg. So as we look outside in Laurel right now, you can see some rain coming down, gray skies, having already received over 1.5 inches of rain. There's very likely going to be some flooding issues that pop up. Probably not the entire area, but certainly those areas that flood easily are going to do that today, and they may linger a bit longer because that rain just kind of keeps coming in waves. You can see South Central Regional Medical Center here in Laurel still obviously raining. If you look closely at the tree line, every now and then you can see one of those big drops falling there, and I'm hearing thunder still going on very close to the station here. Ominous looking skies here at Waynesboro, where they've already received over 2 inches of rain, and you can certainly see that here on the tractor yard. I don't know if the banner's not blocking it, so definitely going to need some boots to walk through that if you're planning on doing some shopping today. And outside of the afternoon hours, I would say that might not be a good idea, especially with the active thunderstorm still going on. We'll get that break in the middle, and then we have that chance coming back. So I imagine we could, let's see. I'm back on. You mentioned weather radio. It's storming out here. Weather radio? I'm not sure what I'm mentioning about weather radio there. Taylorsville is already in bad shape, we're hearing. Thank you for keeping us informed. Thank you, Linda. Weather guys should have given us a heads up even if half asleep. I really did my best on that one. I have seen that going around out there, that maybe we should have informed a bit more, but I really can't go on until a warning is issued, which we were on moments after it was issued. But we were updating social media. The app, I had a video out talking about the potential for that it still wasn't expected, but it happened. And that's the way this goes sometimes, especially with tornadoes. Anytime a thunderstorm forms, you have that chance to get something to overachieve down here. We basically have all the ingredients to make a strong thunderstorm at any given time: the warmth, the humidity. We have southerly winds regardless of where our overall wind field is, especially with the Gulf to the south of us. That can create some kind of fake wind shear at times. So it doesn't take much, and unfortunately that was one of those situations where it was supposed to just be a strong thunderstorm and became more than that, but that's also why we try to be here for that. But either way, we have a couple of hours left of seeing such storms. I expect they'll all remain on the sub-severe limit. Now, that doesn't mean that one can't overachieve. That's why I've got alarms set, so if a severe thunderstorm is issued, it makes a loud noise I can't possibly miss. Kind of the same concept behind the weather app, if you have it. If you're inside the warning box, it makes that loud noise, and you should know about that. And we could warm up all the way up to 78, though that's really going to come down to where those showers around the lunchtime set up and warming and how much cloud cover there is, because it's overall still going to be a cloudy day. But it's going to be one of our coolest days because of that, so if that's a silver lining for you. So looking at the rain chances here, you see them start to drop. Basically, they're at 100% now. By noon-ish, they'll be down to almost a coin flip for an hour, whether or not you're under one of those as they continue to break down. And then you see that several-hour period where we end up with a nice 20% break. And that's basically gray skies with the chance of a shower popping up here or there, or a lingering one just close enough to the area to drift in our direction. Then as we head past sunset, right around 7 p.m. there, you see that chance jump right back up to 60%, and that's when we're expecting those storms to the south popping up along the coastline to start drifting through the area. There will be a northerly component to them, so it just depends on how long and how far they drift into the area as to whether or not they'll reach far enough north to move into the Hattiesburg area. But that's what that level 3 risk, I believe, is all about, especially for the southern half, with Hattiesburg right there on that line, which you can see right there. So here's the visible satellite, which shows you just how cloudy everything is. The entire southeast pretty much just awash with pretty thick cloud cover. The deepest of that right on top of us with that storm system, which is what just pushed through, and now throwing the radar on there, you can see there's quite a bit going on down here in Texas, and that again is what we'll see. Basically a frontal system extending down. We're getting round 1 now, and then it's going to pull round 2 back through the area, and that's as we head towards sunset, and you can kind of see that boundary just right along there, and that front's going to get pulled towards us there. So we are still seeing severe thunderstorm warnings, though they're around the Pine Belt. That one that was just in Greene County and George County, now into Alabama, a couple to the south of what would, I guess, be right around Walthall. So we're still seeing those strong storms in the area, but not to the severe level. But they are on the radar, so you should not be getting warnings for those, and you can see the rain still continuing. But looking like we're finally approaching the end of it, and that's what's going to bring us that little break in the afternoon. As far as storm reports today, we are already starting to get some there. You can see some up near Laurel. These yellow icons are thunderstorm wind damage reports. That's just because even though we had a tornado warning, which was right along when all of these happened, they have not confirmed whether or not that was a tornado or not. That's what the survey teams do. They go out and look and see if the winds were rotating or if they were all straight line. So again, that's a statistical thing just for our record keeping. To everyone that was in the path of that, it doesn't matter whether it was a tornado or straight line wind damage. It was a very bad day and a very unsafe day for everyone there. So just pulling a couple of these. You see this one in Macedonia here for Forest County. Tree down on a house on Show Road, or Shao Road, however you want to say that, with 1 injury reported. So that is exactly what we talk about when these storms pass through, especially when we're expecting a big day and maybe that doesn't happen. For somebody, it did happen. Like, that could be the worst day of this person's life, and it's unfortunate that that did happen. Hopefully they were able to be in that safe space as it was passing through, because that's really when it started to go off there, and that warning was issued just moments before that, I believe. A little bit before, I believe that warning might have been issued. You're seeing a thunderstorm wind damage with several trees down, and that's what we're hearing a lot of happening, especially across roadways out there, which is why many of the schools may have had delayed starts. I believe there were very few cancellations, but with roadways damaged in that way, very likely it got off to a delayed start. So you can see that last strong line already pushing. When I had set this up, it was still kind of lingering over here just southeast of Loosedale. Now they've still got some thunderstorm activity from between Wiggins and Loosedale all the way to the state line there, but none of that expected to be severe, though there is going to be pockets of heavy rain and of course lightning in there as well. So taking a look at the radar here, it's already, or the futurecast, it's already starting to break up that line as we head towards about 10 o'clock. We could still see pockets of it, expecting the worst of it at that point to remain to the south along the coastline, though it could drift in our area like you saw there, especially for the southern half, and that's again why we still have that severe risk where we could see things flare up there. But then heading into the afternoon, we got our nice little break here where it's cloudy and into the upper 70s, but then that next one starts to catch up. You can see by 6 p.m. here, starting to creep in on the western side, and then that one coming through could bring us some more of the discrete, those isolated storms that tend to be a bit on the stronger side, and if they produce tornadoes, tend to be on the longer track side. They last a little bit longer than those ones that are embedded in lines. So that one will still be pretty conditional on what happens in the afternoon. If it does not warm up enough, that will limit instability and that will keep things a bit on the calmer side. But regardless, that low is basically passing right along the coastline where there's already plenty of warmth and moisture. So that's what that level 3 risk is all about, at least to me. I don't expect it is really addressing the storms that we're seeing from now into the mid-afternoon, but those right there popping up later today is exactly what that is for. So we'll see how this gets updated. It gets updated a couple of times throughout the day, and we'll see if it shifts further north or further south, and we'll adjust our coverage for that. So it's a good time to have our app. If you have it, it should have alerted you if you were inside that warning box in Hattiesburg, which many, many people who watch us were. It should have alerted you loudly that there was a tornado warning in the area, and you should have even gotten a warning for the severe thunderstorm warning. Now, some of that you can change in the settings, and if you did that, then that might be why you didn't. It also requires your GPS feature to be on, which I know some people feel very weird about. I don't understand it at all myself. It's a great tool to have to get those warnings and only get the warnings relevant to you, because I was also hearing a lot about sirens, but that's like sometimes a whole county-wide thing. The storm could be east of you or just barely touch your county, and those sirens go off. I grew up with those types of things, and they just kind of trigger like a panic response as soon as I hear them. And probably a lot of people like that out there. So it's the best way to get warnings. It's either weather radios or the app. I saw somebody in here mention weather radios. Those also should have been going off, but those require some programming as well. So if you don't have one of those or don't have one set up, we can sometimes walk you through that. Or even if you brought it up here, we can sometimes do it for you if things aren't crazy. On a day like today, it's probably not the best day to bring your weather radio up here. But if you're any sort of technologically inclined or using a computer, just a little Google search, even a YouTube video will probably show you how to do that. You just got to look up the code for Forest County. And if I find it, I'll maybe post it on the social medias there. So the rain for today is pretty much going to stick with us, with the exception of that little break in the middle. As we head into Tuesday, you can still see some rain there. That's very likely for the early morning hours of tomorrow. By sunrise, I expect anything that is still going on will be gone and continue pushing off towards the east. Wednesday is looking completely sunny and beautiful. Still going to be a bit on the hot and humid side. Then Thursday, you start seeing rain chances moving back in. That'll be on the back end of the day, as we see more storms starting to brew, and that's going to bring us to Friday, which is pretty much a day like today, where it looks like it's going to storm pretty much from start to finish. Whether or not that remains or becomes severe remains to be seen. It's a little too far out for that kind of detail, but it's not looking particularly concerning, not like one of those where we can look 5-6 days out and say this might be a historic day, which we've seen, I'd say, a handful of those over the last year, and almost most of them haven't quite panned out the way they looked like they would, which is a good thing. But we've also had those days where it's been really bad. Not here, like Oklahoma saw some historic tornadoes just last week, I believe. Now the bad news is, short of Wednesday, the sunny day, where we're going to see lower humidity get into the comfy range, that humidity that left us over the weekend, which was sunny and beautiful and dry, is coming back, especially as we head towards the end of the week into Friday and Saturday. You see that surge there where we get back into the almost summertime July humidity and August humidity, and unfortunately temperatures rising up around that time as well, with Friday being the coolest, thanks again to basically a full day of rain. So we are starting to see that summertime weather creeping back in, but especially with today's rain, that's going to keep us on the cooler side in those 70s. Again, Tuesday afternoon and evening looks like it'll be nice and sunny and clear. Whether or not we get off to a damp start remains to be seen. And Wednesday's looking like Sunday, a Sunday, we'll say, with beautiful conditions and lower humidity. But then it starts working its way back in, and you see by Friday and Saturday, we're off to almost 70 degrees Saturday morning, with the potential for those storms popping back in. And we'll see, again, once we get a little closer to that, about 4 or 3 days out, we'll have a handle on the severe expectations for that day. So always good to follow along with this type of information so that you aren't ever caught by surprise. Of course, if you're following our station right now, then you'll be getting updates as well. But if you ever just want to follow me and ask questions or engage, I try to do that as much as possible. I'll be engaging with some comments here in a little bit. Ryan Mahan, WDAM on Facebook, or on the Twitter/X at Ryan Mahan WX, all one word. And I've been receiving lots of people talking about damage that they saw or what they expected versus what actually happened and things like that. So that's always a good place to reach out to people. So that's all I got for today. Again, there's no active warnings that I'm aware of right now in our area. Or certainly no active severe weather, though it is close by, so we're not quite done with that risk until about lunchtime, and then that's when things start to improve for us for at least a handful of hours before we get our afternoon round. And I recommend checking back in with Rex later on, and of course Patrick, to see how that is developing. So I will go ahead and let you go for now, and see you guys a bit later on the social media. Be sure to continue to remain weather aware and keep those apps handy in case more warnings are issued.